Okay, so today, class, we're going to talk about the coordinate grid. Okay, so now we're going to start out by labeling our quadrants, our origin, and our y and x axis. Okay, so now let's start out first by showing you how you're supposed to fold your foldable. So if you take the ends of your foldable and fold in to that y axis where it has two windows, you will see you have a plane to where you can write on the outside here. When you open it up, it'll look just like that. Okay, now let's label our quadrants. So in order to remember how to label our quadrants, think about the letter C. So if I were to make the letter C on top of this origin, the top of this coordinate plane, I would start here and go here. Okay, so remember that when also thinking about how to name what order your quadrants go in. So if you start here, this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Okay, so let's label that on the outside. Okay, so I'm going to label this quadrant 1. Okay, label here quadrant 2. Okay, and label here quadrant 3, and here quadrant 4. Okay, so now I have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Okay, remember, if you make the letter C, that's the order into which they go. Okay, now let's flip open our foldable, and we're going to label some of the inside parts. Okay, so this right here is what we will call our origin. Okay, and this one right here is where the x and y axis intersect at the point 0, 0. Okay, so that's my origin. Okay, so now I'm going to label the x-axis. Okay, and remember, we taxi on the x and we fly on the y. Okay, so when you ride in a taxi, you go along this way. So this one here will be my x-axis. Okay, then we're going to fly on the y. So this here would be my y-axis. Okay, now we're going to pick a point over here in this origin. Okay, and I'm going to pick the point 7, 4. Okay, so I'm going to start at my origin. I'll start at my origin. My first number will be my x, and my second number is my y. Okay, so I start at the origin, and my point is going to be 7, 4. So I go over 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to label that point 7, 4. So anything in quadrant 1, you're going to have a positive and a positive number, positive y value and positive x value. Okay, so now let's move to quadrant 2. In quadrant 2, I see that my x values are negative and my y values are positive. So here I'm going to have negative, positive. Okay, negative and positive. So now I'm going to pick a point over here. I'm going to pick the point negative 4, 2. Okay, so I'm going to graph that point. So I started my origin, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going up 2, 1, 2. So there's that point there. Okay. All right, quadrant 3. If I look at my x values, my x is negative and my y is negative. So here in quadrant 3, I'm going to have 2 negative values. Okay, and I'm going to pick the point -2, -3. Sorry, that's blurry there. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to graph this. I'm going to start at my origin. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go, excuse me, -2, 3. 1, 2, and down 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that's my point there. Okay, now last we have quadrant 4. My x values are positive and my y values are negative. Okay, now I'm going to pick the point 8, -8. So let's graph that point. So we started our origin, and we always do the x first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. So that's my point 8, -8. Okay, so again, in quadrant 1 is 2 positive numbers because my x is positive, my y is positive. In quadrant 2, it's going to be a negative x value, positive y value. In quadrant 3, you're going to have 2 negatives. Okay, negative x, negative y. In quadrant 4, positive and negative. Okay, so now I'm going to write down here that we use x, y to name locations on the graph. Okay, all right, remember when you're applying points, okay, you have to run, which is the x, before you rise, which is the y value. Okay, now if you have any questions on that, please feel free to ask me in class tomorrow. Okay, so there you go, you're foldable, and if you want to, you can cut along here and cut along here, and you will have your 4 quadrants.